In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praise is due to Allah the Almighty, the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon His final and last messenger, Muhammad. And may Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be with each and every one of you, dear viewers, watching this new episode here on LTV International. In this episode, my dear viewers, we will provide the answer to a very important and significant question that we have received via the official Facebook page of the program. And the question reads, what is the stance of Islam regarding safeguarding religious sites and worshippers?
The plants and trees, He created the birds and bees, He created the oceans and seas, some of His many bounties.
In view of the question that we have received, it is evident and it's safe to say that the prohibition of insulting the deities of non-Muslims intellectually necessitates the prohibition of transgressing against non-Muslims' places of worship. Because it is self-evident, of course, that as it is clearly established that it is prohibited to exhibit any form of disrespect when it comes or regarding or against the beliefs or the deities of non-Muslims, definitely by default this means it is also a sin from an Islamic jurisprudential perspective to target the places of worship of non-Muslims by any means or in any form.
لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of religion, and do not expel you from your homes from being righteous toward them and acting justly toward them. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly.
Let's now move to the practice of the Prophet ﷺ and the practice of the noble companions of the Prophet ﷺ, especially with regards to safeguarding and maintaining the safety of worshippers and the places of worship, whether or not they belong to Muslims. We read in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ that upon dispatching a military expedition, he would clearly instruct the people in this expedition, or the soldiers in the army, if you like, by clearly stating that do not let your army kill young children, old people or women. Do not uproot or burn palms or cut down fruitful trees. Do not slaughter sheep, cows or camels except for food. You will come across some people who have set themselves apart in places of worship. Leave them to accomplish the purpose for which they have done this. And we read this in volume number 2, and in particular page number 50 of Tarikh Ibn Asakir.
Submission, faith, and patience, you conveyed the noble message, brought us light through your guidance. Peace be upon you, my beloved, Ya Habibi, Ya Muhammad.
Hear such instructions from the Prophet ﷺ and also from Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the first of the rightly guided Khalifas of the Prophet ﷺ, and many others of the companions of the Prophet and the early pious Muslims. All of them are very clear in establishing how is it in practice maintaining the safety of worshippers and their places of worship have always been a priority for the early Muslim scholars, and of course as explicitly stated by the Prophet ﷺ himself and his rightly guided companions. Furthermore, my dear viewers, when we look at the history of Muslims, we clearly see the existence of various religious sites and places of worship in different parts around the world, and especially, I mean, the lands where Muslims entered and lived. This is per se, evidently, is a living and a tangible testimony as to how Muslims across the centuries have safeguarded the religious sites and the safety as well of the worshippers, irrespective of their faith traditions.
لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of religion, and do not expel you from your homes from being righteous toward them and acting justly toward them. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly.
Let me now give you and move to a very practical, shining example of the Islamic history. And that's what is known as Al-Uhda Al-Umariyya, or the assurance and the treaty of Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. As we understand that and we read in history, how is it when Muslims entered Jerusalem in Palestine around the year 637 AD, Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second of the rightly guided caliphs, may Allah be pleased with them all, he was given a tour around the city of Jerusalem, including the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And when the time for the prayer came, the patriarch of the city, Sophronius, he invited Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, to pray inside the church. However, Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, refused. And the reason for his refusal was clearly that praying inside the church would render some Muslims to later think that this is an excuse for transforming the church into a mosque. And this is why Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, he decided to pray and to perform the salah outside the church, where a mosque called Masjid Omar, or the Mosque of Omar, was later built. So in addition to this, and also clearly see this in the books of history, as was the case with all the lands that and the countries that Muslims entered, the Muslims concluded a treaty that detailed the rights and privileges regarding all the people, Muslims and non-Muslims, and this was evidently in Jerusalem. And this treaty was signed by Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and also Patriarch Sophronius, along with some of the generals of the Muslim army. And the text of this treaty reads, "In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. This is the assurance of safety which the servant of Allah, Umar, the commander of the faithful, has given to the people of Jerusalem. He has given them an assurance of safety for themselves, for their property, their churches, their crosses, the sick and the healthy of the city, and for all the rituals which belong to their faith tradition. Their churches will not be inhabited by Muslims and will not be destroyed. Neither they, nor the land on which they stand, nor their crosses, nor their property will be damaged. They will not be forcefully converted into Islam." And we read this in Tarikh al-Tabari. So all this stands as a clear evidence of how Islam clearly respects the right of all human beings to have access to safe places of worship and to maintain the safety of all worshippers, irrespective of what they believe in.
إرهابيين ورحمة للعالمين وهداية من الرحمن. يا حبيبنا يا رسول الله، يا شفعنا يوم حساب الله. يا حبيبنا يا رسول الله، يا شفعنا يوم حساب الله. يا خاتم الأنبياء من بعد موسى وعيسى،
وعشنا طول عمرنا الجامع جنب الكنيسة.
يا خاتم الأنبياء من بعد موسى وعيسى،
وعشنا طول عمرنا الجامع جنب الكنيسة.
عبد إله واحد.
These are just few examples that show the right of each and every human being to have a safe place of worship and maintaining their safety. I hope that with this I have provided a clear and a sufficient answer to our dear questioner. This brings us to the end of this episode. I leave you in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wishing you all the best. As always, all your questions, feedback and comments are most welcome via the official Facebook page of the program and the rest of the social media. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.